Good evening, family. You've joined us again for another version of the Journey 2020. And our slogan is, the journey is from you to me and from me to you so that we can get to a better place and a better time. Tonight, we're going to discuss something that we've brought up before, but we're going to dedicate a little bit more time to it. And that is that, eternal question of who is black. And to delve into this topic with me is my unflappable co-host, Mr. Charles Moore. Charles?
You know, the funny thing is that, I was talking to you about this, and it came up because a couple of weeks ago, the quarterback for Seattle, well, this has always been a topic since the beginning of time, but for us anyway, the guys in the locker room, you know how when especially like on a team, because you have your little favorites and you have the guys that gather together, that socialize together, and even as a team, you may not necessarily get along outside the locker room or when the game is over, but during the game and the practices, you have your little cliques. But when game time comes, you try to be on the same accord.
Right.
But in the locker room, the quarterback Russell, they were saying that he's not black enough.
Okay.
Now, whatever that means, but there's, as you know, there's a lot of ignorance in that statement.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, there's a lot of ignorance, and I heard them talking about it on ESPN. But I think what frustrates me with that statement, whenever they address it, they come from the ignorant part of it. And what I mean by the ignorant part of it is when you say something like, which is just beyond my understanding of somebody who would say you should not speak proper English, you should not get good grades, or some crazy somebody that hit you in the head with a baseball bat too many times kind of responds to that kind of stupid stuff, that you're supposed to be stupid and dumb and always in the back of the line for whatever reason. I have no idea why anybody would say something so dumb and stupid, and I put it like dumb and stupid, that you're not supposed to make A's and B's, and you're supposed to talk and not know the English, and I get, because we're very versed. Okay, I get and understand when you around your people, you can talk however you want to talk and act the way you want to act, but when you don't understand how to separate the two, that's when you stupid. You stupid when you go into a job interview and you in the interview acting like you with your boys.
Right.
Okay, I get you can talk the slang and do this and do that and da-da-da-da, but you can turn it off.
Right, exactly.
Okay, and we can talk a little bit more about that, but that statement is, there's some truth to that. There's some truth to that, because the reality of it, we can talk about that as well, because I want to get into this Raven Symone thing.
Oh yeah.
That thing, because somebody like her, she can be dangerous to herself.
Absolutely.
Not recognizing, and she can set herself up, and I'll just say it. The way this world is and how crazy people are, and people don't like you because of the color of your skin, and then somebody who's popular and who has money, and then they looking at you like, oh really? It's been proven to Michael Jackson. It's been proven to Mike Tyson.
Right.
Okay, just simply because we gonna show you, oh, you got money, well, we gonna show you who you really are.
Exactly.
So when you don't understand that concept, and I know I'm going, because there's so much to cover.
Exactly.
Because we were talking the other day as a person of color, and Lena Horne said this.
Yeah.
Lena Horne was talking about when she was in her early years, and she was married to this white guy. Okay, and it's kind of like this. Something came across on the news pertaining to a riot or something having to do with black people. and she understood, and her husband made a comment that was like, I don't understand what the big deal is. And it's kind of like that moment. That moment was like she realized that this man had no clue. You know, and I'm paraphrasing her,
Right, exactly.
in the sense to say that I can walk in the room, look at you, something can flash on the TV that pertains to us, and I can look at you. We ain't had a conversation, but we just had a conversation.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
And when you don't understand that, and when you don't understand the rules of the world when it comes to your skin color,
Right.
period. You know,
Yeah.
because you can be anybody, understanding the rules, because we are prejudiced.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah,
Absolutely.
and we're prejudiced by nature.
Yep.
And a lot of people don't like to admit that. But you know, we was having a conversation before when you was something about somebody crossing the street. When you saw, I don't forget what it was. Remember that?
Right,
And when I told you, and even I think Dave Washington even said to me, and somebody else said to me, until I realized what the situation is, I'm crossing the street. I don't know. From especially how it doesn't matter.
Right.
If I see and I don't know, and I'm making a judgment, the judgment is just so I'm trying to be safe. It's nothing against you. It's just that I'm old enough now that it'd be like, I'm not stepping into something that I don't know.
No,
I have to be sure, because I'm in an unfamiliar place. I don't know y'all, and it's just like people crazy now. It doesn't matter, white, black. You could be Indian, Chinese, Japanese.
Right.
I don't know. If I don't know, then I'm gonna kind of like till I can fill out the situation and understand. But I'm not putting. I don't care what nobody say.
Right.
I got to do what I need to do in order for me to feel comfortable until I evaluate the situation.
Yeah.
Now, yeah,
Well, I want to have us wind back a little bit. Now, Charles, can I say this is an intense feeling that it elicits intense feeling from you?
Well,
I had to jump back and be a psychologist for a second.
Right, because it upset me that they always come at it from the angle of what I was talking about, when there is ignorance to it. Okay, because there is a feel, and again, we was having this conversation. Every black person has been in a situation when you're in a room with some people of color, and there's a person who come in, and for some odd reason they don't seem to fit in, and not for no other reason than you just kind of look like it's kind of it's one of those moments.
Right. Say the vibe just
and you be like and you start thinking like, where did they grow up, where they from. And I never asked them if they like collard greens and potato salad. You know, I never asked that question. But I mean, I'm throwing a joke in now, but because I love me some collard greens. I don't care what nobody say. I love me some collard greens. I love me some watermelon. You know, I love some hot sauce and some cornbread. You know, but
it's just healthy for you.
But I'm just saying, I love me some collard greens. You know, anybody out there make some good collard greens? If you want, I'm with you. But
all right.
But it's just that when they talk about it, it's for real, but there's also the other side to it that's sad, because of that is the way of the world. When in actuality, people struggle with a lot of things. Somebody like Raven Symone, or when the people. And people still do it. People who are light skinned that can get away with being, well, you know what? I can walk in the room. I can be white today. Right. Or I can walk in the room and I can be
pass.
Right. So, but they rather play the white card. Okay, we understand that. Are the people who are ashamed that they have some blackness in their family? You know, that kind of stuff. Be like, oh, well, you know,
or to hear, let's say, kinks up when the weather gets a little humid.
Or the sad part of it is when you think there's something wrong with being black.
Okay.
That's what upsets me, because there's ain't a darn thing wrong with being black, period. Okay. You know, I embrace it. I love it. I'm gifted. I'm everything. But there's another conversation that I would love. Now we're going into something.
Okay, go ahead.
But there's another conversation, another show that I would love to have with some black men, and I want to talk about it from the standpoint of who we are, man on man. Why we do what we do, especially I give you an example. I want you to think about this.
Okay.
Okay. We cannot lash out and do things man on man when it comes to me being a person of color and a white gentleman when he has money. Okay. I don't have his resources. Okay. Okay. So now we're on, let's just say, an even playing field.
Right.
And what I mean by even playing field, we just at the table together. Okay. We're at the table together. Okay. He has the resources, he has the money, he has the lifestyle. Okay. Now, he's at the table, we're sitting down, we're face to face. The only thing that's between us is this table. So, as a man, now this is just men. Okay, now I'm looking at him and my resentment may be his attitude simply because he may have the resources and he has the power from the standpoint of his pockets. So I can feel him going, you work for me, or you gonna come work for me. Okay. So now when it's man on man, and for a lot of people who don't understand this, when it's man on man, why we react and respond the way that we do, because my thing is now I just want to hit him in his face.
Right.
Because the bottom line is man on man, he could never whoop my butt. Now this is a man on man thing. Okay. So he knows, one, I'm gonna get kind of funky here.
Okay.
One is if his woman likes me, that's a male. He don't know what to do with that. So
I would say he does.
No, but I'm saying
a lot of anger and resentment.
But I'm saying the way he tries to crush me, he hangs me, he cuts.
Castrates.
Right.
Yeah.
So that whole thing that he feels inferior, not so, because look at how he really sees me, and then look at how I see myself to him, because now I see him as somebody that has power. But man on man, when we sit here, if we go at it, I got him.
Yeah.
Okay, I got him.
Well, let me kind of wind back.
But I'm thinking in the terms that because this is gonna always go back to the woman.
Okay.
This is gonna always go back to the woman.
Right.
Because if the women in the room, if we're sitting across the table, if we go at it, I probably gonna end up on top.
Okay. Well, let me wind back, because I think we got so deep in the conversation so quick.
Right.
Let me kind of define some of the terms, because some of our folks out there listening is maybe getting race mixed up with culture, mixed up with ethnicity. Okay. And so I got to jump academic, for a little bit. Okay. So that we get.
But that's a different show, though. Okay. I meant what I just went across from the table.
I think it all connects.
Okay.
So, but at a starting point, as we're talking about who's black, often especially we really need to talk about who's black in America.
Right. Okay.
Because in other areas of the world, that's defined very differently.
Right. Okay.
But who's black in America? And by the way, there is a CNN show that was done by Soledad O'Brien.
Right.
That for some of our audience that are at a race 101 or who's black 101 may be a good starting point.
Right.
And it's available, I think, on somewhere on the internet and on YouTube.
Right.
But anyhow, that being said, race is a concept that way back was really used to define and separate people biologically.
Okay.
Now, interestingly, what we found in recent day and time is that race is a muddled concept, and so what people often look at as someone being brown skin, or very dark brown skin or light brown skin, and still being called black, for at times children, is very confusing.
Right.
And if you look at the genetics of it, there are, in terms of us as black folks, we have got strains of DNA ranging from Danish and Finnish and Slovakian and whatever mixed up with that ancestor that came from Africa.
Right.
But one of the things that I want to give our audiences think about, and that is, and one of these days I think I'm going to do a T-shirt and to say, we are all African. Because unless you believe that we were all popped out of the creator's oven, so to speak, you know, in all these different races, the science says that we came, all of us, from the continent of Africa.
Well, that was one of the things that I remember Richard Pryor saying in one of his concerts. And then he said it. He said, white anthropologists stated that.
Okay.
And,
right, exactly.
You know, he said that. So he said we was the first one with thought. You know, I mean, that was part of his concert.
Right.
But his statement was, you know, that was proven, and this is what white people said.
Right. Exactly. So you know, to get to that point, that the evidence had to be incontroversial.
Right.
You know, incontrovertible.
Right.
In other words, they couldn't turn it back and say that it isn't so.
Right.
So we know that we all came out of Africa. Now, the interesting thing is, as Americans in American society, you know, our founding fathers, bless their soul, and the folks that were in power did some really interesting things. And they decided, well, you know, we have the power, we have the money, as you were saying, we can define who is acceptable and equal to us and who's not.
Right.
And despite the fine words in the Constitution that all men are created equal, okay, somehow in practice, our forefathers said, well, you know, the deal is there are some folks that's more equal than others.
Right.
All right? Yeah. And so with that being one of the ethics that they followed, they then said, well, you know, these folks that a little browner than us and that we have been able to capture and bring over here to work for us, we're going to let them feel and know and put into law that they are property. You know, isn't that incredible?
Well, the funny thing that you would say that, and because I've always said the mindset, I mean, what type of person or individual could just, I mean, I'm just talking about the sheer spirit. Just goes, look over there and see people, and then just say, you know what, you're not people, you're just animals or dogs or whatever, and then I'm just gonna make you be my slaves. Just a total mindset. Just the whole intellect and the mindset with that spirit.
Right.
I mean, of course, you know, we run into it all the time, but I'm just talking about it, period.
Right.
That spirit. It'd be like, wow, you know.
And the amazing thing is that you know, the American founding fathers and the people that were in power did a wonderful job of codifying the thing. Now we know that there was slavery from biblical times, etc.
Right.
You know, but we also know that you could either work your way out of slavery, you know, buy your way out of slavery, etc.
Right.
But here is a set of people that said, once you're a slave, not only are you all a slave, but your children and your children's children. Isn't that incredible?
Again, that spirit, the mindset. I mean, how arrogant do you? Well, anyway.
Right. Well, we know because, you know, we've lived it.
Right.
You know, and so when we're talking about people like a Raven Symone or
Tiger,
a Tiger, etc., who will say, well, I don't want to be defined as X, Y, and Z.
Right.
Now, on one hand, there is a little bit of health there. Okay, there's a little tinge. Okay, and that is that sense that I will not be defined by other people. The problem that I find is that somebody said, you didn't just pop out, you know, a fully grown, and you didn't pop out, you know, without people coming before you.
Right.
So, so that sense of saying, well, I don't want to be defined like Raven Simone, and I just want to be, an American as such. Okay, the problem with that is that if she truly follows that logic of being an American, then it means that she is either one of the founding fathers, descendants, which means part of the folks that decided and had the mindset to oppress another set of folks,
Right.
or unless she's a Native American, etc., that she would be in the other set, and that is from the folks who were brought over as slaves.
Right.
So, but even further than that, she goes on ahead and says, well, I don't know where I am, from in Africa, and I don't know other than who I am. Now, I would ask, when we think about it, do the Irish say, well, I don't particularly know where I am from Ireland, okay? Or do the British say, well, I don't really know where in England or Scotland or whatnot I am, but they will, go to their death, waving, the British or Irish or whatever flag, and saying, my people came from Ireland, okay? Now, they could be dirt poor, having come over on, through Ellis Island, etc. But the thought is that they're proud of that heritage, and they think that it's worthwhile. When you have a people who don't know where their roots are, where they came from, then you have a people who you can direct in any sense.
Well, the scary thing about her, I think, is because she had so much early success in her life and fame and fortune. So it sounds like she can't relate, and I'm not, and not by fault. I just think that and I don't. It's easy to call out the parents. Okay. Because I just know for a fact that on Thanksgiving I know my child can't come in the house with that conversation.
I hear you.
I don't care who her mother was or is and all this other stuff. I know my child cannot. I don't care how much fame. If she can't come home on Thanksgiving and we sit down at the table. Now what did I hear about you on TMZ? What did you say? Right. I just know that my child would never come up with whatever that is.
Exactly.
Okay. And wherever that comes from.
Right.
But again, like I said, that can be very dangerous to herself because she's locked into where she is, and that can come back to bite her because she's not stepping into a realm of reality.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
Because there's some people out there, let alone would want to hurt her simply because of her fame and fortune. Then you tie it in with you being a black sister anyway. She don't even know how she can be set up because she thinking people are her friends.
Right. To that point, the person that was interviewing her, Oprah Winfrey. Now, this is one of the most powerful women, not just black women, one of the most powerful women in our society.
Right.
And what has happened to Oprah on more than one occasion, where people looked at her and just looked at her physical state, and what was it? Lock the door, of this establishment.
Right,
exactly.
The store, right.
So one of the things that we need to realize is that no matter how high we rise, that it is, given the particular circumstances, each one of us could be judged by the color of our skin.
But that's the funny thing. You would think with her, especially with the Disney and how she can really be an impression on young kids and so many people of color and people in general, but not even having the awareness and the mindset of how so many kids love her and the difference she can make just by acknowledging you know, and it's just funny, the different spirits. Again, it's just like you ain't gonna ever hurt for anything, as you know, materialistic wise.
Right.
Now you may suffer in some other areas in your life, whatever it is that you may be missing spiritually or emotionally. You know, I don't know, because I don't know her.
Right.
But material wise, I know there's nothing in this world that she can't purchase or buy, a place that she can't go. But from the standpoint of the difference that she can make and embracing and helping others to understand, let's say, hey, look at me. Look at what I have achieved.
Exactly.
You know, so with her, whatever it is that has happened in her life, for her to look at it that way, that's interesting, considering how successful she has been from a very early age.
Exactly.
Which is strange.
Exactly.
You know,
and you see, success by itself, you know, Charles, as we know, because we've got many positive examples of success with women who are lighter and brighter than Raven Symone, and who absolutely embrace their blackness.
Right.
One of the things that I had shared with you is that little slide that has the famous person.
You know what? I can put it up
yeah,
right now.
let's bring it up and
yeah,
let our audience take a look
it's
at
up.
it.
It's yeah. I mean, I know you can't see it, but it's up.
Right,
It's
right. And for those of us who are familiar, that is Mariah Carey.
Right.
That's over on because I can't see it. I think it's over on the right.
Right. Well, actually, she's on my left.
Oh, she's on the left. Okay.
He's on my right.
Okay. Yeah. And I titled above it, who is black.
Right.
Now, one of the things about Mariah Carey is that she has totally embraced her blackness. And when we look at her physically, some people would kind of look and say, is she really black?
Right.
In terms of her self-concept. And that, again, gets into the difference between race, and culture. And culturally, she defines herself as being black.
Right.
Okay. And I remember how overjoyed she was to have been invited to Oprah's gathering of I think it was of a phenomenal women. Okay.
Right.
And again, you have this very light, bright woman who, in many instances, could have quote unquote passed for white.
And she had money.
Yeah, and has money.
Right.
Exactly.
Yes. She has lots of money.
Right. So we can very, very well say she ain't need to be black.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So and the thing that I wanted to do is to contrast it with the gentleman that is beside her.
Right.
You know.
I'm gonna
and
put it back up. Yeah. Okay.
Those of you who may not know, that's Vijay Singh.
Golf.
Yeah,
Golf.
world famous golfer.
Right.
He's probably one of in the top 10 in terms of golf pros, and is again, if you would look at him, you say, oh yeah, he's definitely black. Now, in terms of how he identifies himself, he is Fijian. Okay, from the little teeny weeny South Pacific island of Fiji. Okay. And his particular people apparently are also connected to some dark-skinned individuals from India, from the subcontinent. But who the last thing that they would identify themselves as is black.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow.
Right.
All right. Okay.
All right. And so, but in the American context,
oh, let him come over here. What?
Right.
They would probably put him in a straitjacket.
Absolutely. And saying, what do you mean you're not black?
Right.
But again, that's how we in America have defined race, and we have at times totally disregarded culture. Okay. And then you've got a third concept, right? And that is ethnicity. And ethnicity often gets mixed up with race, where we'll say, in terms of an ethnic group, all right, we'll take a look at Puerto Ricans, okay, and we want to classify them racially as being Hispanic. or the more progressive was Latino.
Mhm.
Okay, ethnically, they're ethnically Puerto Rican,
Right.
and by that it means a group, or a nationality that has certain traditions, culture, etc., that are based on a generational connection
Right.
and also a cultural connection.
Mhm.
So, if I haven't confused folks already, I hope you're duly confused. But I wanted to get those terms out there because often we get into a mishmash and we don't know how to talk about, what we think we know.
Right.
Okay? But again, coming back to the sense of who is black, um, Maya Angelou, I think, did a wonderful job
Mhm.
of bringing this whole array
A
of
rainbow.
of women, the rainbow
Right.
of women together.
Mhm.
The interesting thing, and they came from the widest, career path that you could think of.
Mhm.
But the fascinating thing, and this gets back to your point about the sense of connectedness,
Mhm.
in that setting, they all felt the power of the connection because of the African heritage.
Right.
Okay?
Mhm.
So sometimes we like to say, oh, the folks who talk about, in a positive way, about race or culture, that they're just kind of making stuff up, or that there's nothing to it, etc.
Mhm.
But I would, again, challenge anyone to go back and take a look at that video, of Oprah and those women,
Mhm.
and say to me that there isn't a powerful sense of connection, a powerful sense, of history, and a powerful sense of shared ancestry that is there. Okay.
Well, now I I think um, I don't know. I mean, we've been trying and trying for so long, to get our young people to understand their history,
Mm.
which is one of the problems. Okay,
Exactly.
now because I'm old enough to understand better how we work,
Mm.
and how God made us,
Mm.
because the white people has tried to suppress us for so long.
Mm-hmm.
What they don't understand is if they had did the opposite and help people of color embrace where they from and
Mm.
help them to be proud of where they're
Mm.
from and the things that they have accomplished,
Mm-hmm.
they would have to deal with less of crime and things that goes against them, because a lot of our struggles just come from not having an identity and for the things that we've been taught.
Absolutely.
Because I can, you know what, I can share this.
Mm.
As a kid growing up, I can remember, don't know where it came from or
Mm.
why did I see it this way.
Mm.
But there was a time when I was a little kid that I actually thought that in order for you to get certain things, you had to steal them.
Mm.
Okay, and I
Mm-hmm.
honestly, well, I don't know where that came from.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. When I started to become of age and I started to understand that
Mm.
you can achieve things and
Mm-hmm.
that this is how you get what you, if you want something, this is how it works.
Right, right, right.
But when I was a little kid, I'm thinking that perhaps if you want something, you had to steal, you had to do this, you had to do that, blah, blah, blah,
Mm.
blah, blah. And not that I stole anything, but my
Mm-hmm.
mindset was how people of color was presented to me
Yeah.
and how I saw it, And I think the funniest thing was is that and people are gonna laugh when I say this,
Mm.
but it was so odd. But when I saw a white person that was homeless, or a white person that was poor, or it was strange that a white person that couldn't read or something like that. And I
Mm.
was like, because to me, I thought all white people had money. I thought
Yeah.
all of them was famous. I thought all of them, because
Right.
growing up, I thought we were the people who was just the only one struggling.
Yeah. Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah.
As
Yeah.
crazy as that was. But I'm
Yeah.
saying, if they don't understand
Mm-hmm.
how better off they would be
Yeah. Yeah.
if they wouldn't try to have suppressed us and help
Right.
us identify,
Yeah.
because then that would be pressure off of them, pressure off of, and we would just be striving, doing our thing, achieving and accomplishing, not breaking into their houses, hitting them upside their head, shooting them and robbing them and doing the things. I'm serious.
Exactly.
But they don't understand that.
Right. Exactly. Exactly.
So when I say that, it'd be like, no, because we would be successful in the sense of doing the things we need to do in order for us to achieve the things we need to achieve to become successful, and not taking away anything from anybody.
Exactly.
But
I think that's a really, for me, a unique thought, because I hadn't thought about it that way.
Right.
But I think because one of the things that the powers that be, back in the day did, was to make sure that there was a big division between poor white people and poor black people.
Right.
And in other words, that whole philosophy of divide and conquer.
Right.
So that not only was the divide and conquer within our own people,
Right.
but those same powers that be made sure that the poor white man also somehow saw himself in the delusionary way, really,
Right.
as being better than
Right.
this black man, and having to then oppress or persecute
Right.
that black man in order to feel that he's somehow better.
Right.
And that delusion continues on in many instances till today.
Oh, well, yeah, well, of course. I mean, just when you was reading, I keep going back to this because it's I mean, even though it shouldn't be like surprising and blowing my mind, but when you started reading that list of things, when they were talking about you need bigger guns, bigger bullets, and and all this, the perception and how they see us and all this other stuff, and you'd be like, man, that's crazy. And these people are the ones that's running the country and making decisions in people's lives, and it's just like, it really?
Yeah, absolutely.
And even though this is a big political year, it's kind of funny because, not to go from one extreme to the other as far as talking about it from a political standpoint, but I was just listening to the news today, and then they're kind of ticked off at the Democrats now because they have taken over the Senate, and then when there are more seats for the Democrats, then they pissed off at the Democrats. Then when there's more seats for the Republicans, they pissed off at the Republicans because they haven't figured out it's not the Democrats or the Republicans, it's the system.
Yeah.
And but see, people, it's easy to sit there and point fingers because they don't understand. It's the system.
Right.
Because basically most of them are corrupt anyway. The system is corrupt.
Exactly.
But then it's easy to go, well, these darn Democrats. Or either it's not the Democrats, it's everybody.
Yeah, absolutely.
But they don't understand that.
Yeah.
And so they don't know how to, we need a clean slate. We need to do something about this system. We need to fix the system.
Yeah. Well, as long as, and some people get tired of talking about race, but race as we define it in America really typifies some of the and you put it rightly, some of the stupid ideas, some of the ignorant ideas that we have that get perpetuated. There's that controversy, and I told you I wanted to bring in the news article about the senator from Louisiana, Mary Landrieu.
Okay.
And someone asked her why President Obama's ratings were so poor in her state.
Right.
And this is one of she said two things. She said, well, first, his energy policies worked against him in Louisiana. But she said then, and this is a really great quote, she said, I'll be very, very honest with you. Okay. She said, the South has not always been the friend of African Americans. Okay. This is a United States senator fessing up. Okay. She said, it's been a difficult time for the president to present himself in a very positive position, with the South being what it is. Okay. Now, of course, the Republicans just went crazy with her making that statement and wanted to use it politically. but I believe that she was talking truth. And I think that most politicians, if if you scrape the truth out of them, would be able to say that yes, this is it. So when you talked about the system, many of these politicians are playing to the system by keeping the president's policies as somehow being negative, and playing down any of the efforts that he wants to make. And when you think about it, how many presidents have been called stupid, that he's out of touch, that he's leading from behind, that somehow every negative thing that you could think about. Not that other presidents haven't been criticized, but to the extent and to the depth, this again typifies the deeply ingrained sense of race that still drives a lot of our politics.
Yeah.
So
yeah. And then I'm pretty sure that he knew, and we all knew, some of the things that he would face.
Oh yeah.
There's still people who would never embrace him simply because of the color of his skin, and it's kind of like 999. There's nothing you can do about it.
Right.
He is the president of the United States, no matter what your issues are. And to go back to what we're talking about when it comes to how things are in the system. Now, I've been saying this for a long time, and that is for somebody like Bill O'Reilly and Rush Limbaugh. Okay, now I can respect Rush Limbaugh because I like Rush Limbaugh game because people like him and Bill O'Reilly will always be famous and always make a lot of money because they make it off of people's stupidity.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Because no matter which way you swing it, you can swing it either way. It's still going to be the same.
Right.
I can sit up here and go on the radio and I can down bash the Republicans. Yeah. I can go on the radio. I can down bash the Democrats. It's people's stupidity.
Yeah.
And so they want to connect to these people just like you were saying. Because if I connect to these people, I'm better than them. I'm smarter than them. And I'm distant and it's those people over there and blah, 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 blah. And so with Rush Limbaugh, he's the man because he done figured out, you know what, I could be all famous and powerful because people stupid.
Exactly.
And so it's sheer people's stupidity that he's where he is.
Yeah.
And it's just absolutely amazing. So I can believe, like, boy, you know what? You done grabbed a hold of something and it done made you famous and people swear by you.
Yeah.
And you got the best game in town.
Exactly. When you talk about a wonderful con game,
right? Oh yeah.
That's what it winds up to.
Right. And that's all it is.
Right.
And that's it. Because to me, again, America and who we are, what DC love an ignorant country. An ignorant USA. Yeah. Because the more ignorant we are, the more powerful they are.
Yeah.
And the things that they do to keep us from the polls. And it's almost like we expect it, we don't care, whatever. And that's what they love.
Right, absolutely.
Well, it's going to be what it's going to be.
Right.
We can't make a difference.
That's it. Why bother?
Why bother?
Exactly.
That's them. And it goes back to, again, our ignorance. And again, when we were talking about, well, they're not black enough. Well, what does that mean? Because it means something.
Yeah.
Now, earlier when I was talking about, and I was very passionate about how ignorant people can be, when you talk about the ignorance, when I come in here and I'm supposed to be holding my crotch or something like that, and walking a certain way, and I'm supposed to have a certain slang, and that's stupid. Okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Do we do that? Some of us do that. And I can remember, and it was funny too because years ago, and I found it on YouTube. And as a person of color, being in the media and in television and been watching movies the way that I've had watched for the last 25, 30 years, when I see certain scenes are when I see certain things, I think about the preparation, the writing, and the mindset. Who came up with this concept? How many times they had to shoot this? How many times did they go over the script? Did they change it to this, to this, to this, so on and so forth? There was a commercial, and I'm trying to think of the name of the commercial that was selling the songs. Something Tell, I don't forget. It'll come in, but I did find it because I went to show it to friends.
Okay.
I did find it a few years ago. And it was this guy walking down the street holding this big boom box, and he was like this right here the whole time, and he was like this right here, and it was just like, that's how they see us. And the most frustrating thing is when they're doing something black and there's white writers.
Yes,
that is almost like, really?
Yeah.
And there's white writers doing a black thing, you know. And then the most other frustrating thing is, just like on ESPN or all the other talk shows, sports talk show, when they was talking about your boy Russell and that, and then you hearing white people talk about it, they just need to shut up and pass. You know what? I don't even comment on what that meant when they were talking about when the brother said, well, he ain't acting like he ain't acting black enough.
Right.
White people don't need to talk about that.
Right.
Because they sound stupid.
Right.
Straight
Exactly.
stupid. You just get, you know what? Yeah, let's just talk about something else today.
It's almost like, you know, you made that point about Billie Holiday and her husband not really understanding that he's commenting on it, but has no knowledge, no context of what is really being talked about.
Right.
You know, and you're absolutely right that so many of these commentators, because they've had a smattering look at what they think is black culture, now feel qualified to talk about it.
Right.
You know.
Yeah, I'm serious, because sometimes I'm listening to them and I'm going, you really, you so far out in left field right now, and you don't have a clue. And you really exposing who you are right now.
Absolutely.
You know, because sometimes people can fool other people.
Yeah, right.
And eventually something comes out, you know, I mean, and that's with all of us.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So, you know, so stuff, and you listen, and when you really listen, you be like, wow, okay. Oh, okay. But to me, something like that, there should be something wise enough for you to just understand, or you say something like, you know what, that topic right there, I'm just going to listen to you, and I get a little bit of feedback from you and help me to understand something. If you don't say that, and you trying to talk on that topic, and you white,
is it? Well, you know, the thing about it, Charles, is that, you know, because again, the dominant culture again runs the media, you know, runs the communications, etc. One of the things is that, you know, and I know people will jump on First Amendment rights, you know, and I have a right to say, you know, whatever. But I think it then becomes incumbent on us, you know, to then both say what you're saying and also think in terms of beyond those superficial comments.
Right.
Because it reminds me of something that I ran across, and it's an anonymous quote. But the quote goes something like, when someone can define your culture, they can then define your reality. Okay.
Right. Well, it's
so what I'm saying by that is that when we let people define what our culture is, you know, as black people, they then can define our reality, and that is that, again, if we let them, and that is, so many of our young people, and I have to put this back on us, that they will take a look at that blurb about Russell Wilson and or even Raven Symone and say, oh, Raven has said, well, you know, she's not black, she's American. Okay, as you said, if someone came to your house at Thanksgiving or my house, you know, at any time, and started saying that, and they say, we'd have to have a serious conversation.
Right.
All right. But so many of our young people are not exposed to either the family environment that allows that to be redefined, or are off on their own, feeding ignorance with ignorance.
Right. Definitely.
You know, and so we just have more of a job, to let our young people know that they just didn't come from nowhere, and that they're not nobody.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay?
And I may have shared this with you on the show before, but this kind of goes back to Lena Horne as well, but also back to what I was talking about, being a person of color. Just being able to relate and talk, and just to be able to look into your eyes. We could see something, and then I can look into your eyes, and then I can feel your soul. That's important to me.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, for some others, it may not mean anything. Okay. So, I learned a very valuable lesson with a girl that I was dating at the time, and Susan was from South America. And Susan could pass for either being black, or she could pass for being probably Hispanic, either or. Very kind girl.
Or possibly a white person with a tan.
If
No,
you saw,
she wasn't
if you saw her in a distance, maybe.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
But also because of her demeanor as well. She's very kind-hearted. But I learned a very valuable lesson from her. Couple of things I learned. She taught me that I got to be with a sister. One.
Okay.
No, mainly because of what I just said.
All right.
In the sense of,
I was going to say that sounds like a whole nother show.
No. But mainly because of what I was saying about when something, and I look into your eyes when something comes up, and I look and I can feel your soul.
Right.
She taught me, well, that's important. That's important to me. That's why I said that. That's important. And it may not be important to somebody else, but it's important to me.
Right.
So, but as kind and sweet as she was, we were talking, and Roots came on. I wanted her to see Roots.
Oh boy.
Right, exactly. Now, I've only seen Roots maybe once or twice, because I can't watch Roots. Okay, I'm serious. I can't. I'm trying not to go out and get arrested.
Right.
But anyway, seriously, it's hard.
I'm smiling, and not to interrupt you. I got to tell you about the first, when Roots first aired,
right,
and my experience. But go ahead. Right.
So now she's looking at this movie, and she basically saying, like, this didn't happen.
Wow.
Right. And so, because she was saying, did this really happen? This didn't happen. People didn't do it. And I'm looking at her now. I feel like I'm stupid because I'm with her. Okay. So now I'm like, now I'm looking at myself.
Right.
Because she's a wonderful person.
Right.
But the other part of that was how she responded and some of the things she was saying. If I didn't know her, I would have swore she was a prejudiced person. But I figured out, I said, she's speaking from sheer ignorance.
Yeah.
Sheer stupidity.
Yeah.
Some of the things that she was saying, or some of the arguments that we used to get into. And I'm not going to get into it, but it wasn't anything other than an eye-opening experience for me.
Right.
Because she had a kind, lovely spirit, great person. But when I was looking at her, and I'm like, what? But it was teaching me something.
Yeah.
About people and life and people perception, because we started talking about welfare. Well, what people on welfare? What? I said I grew up on welfare. And she was trying to understand.
Right.
And I'm like, well, you are, because she didn't understand some things.
Exactly.
But it goes back to her going to Winter Park High School. She went to Rollins College, and blah 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 blah.
Yeah, the kind of upper
right. And so I was like, oh, okay. So I learned a lot about myself.
Yeah.
And so I was like, oh, okay. And there's some other stuff that also taught me, because she was trying to get me to go to St. Augustine to a wedding. And this is the last thing that I'll say.
Okay.
Now, know that they have the KKK up in City Hall. Pictures of the KKK up in City Hall in St. Augustine.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
I didn't know that. Okay.
Well, I know back then they did.
Okay, right.
So one of her employees, she's working at the store, and she was a manager, and one of her employees was getting married. So she said, Charles, I'm going to go to her wedding. Will you come and go with me?
Right.
I'm knowing that I'm going to be the only black in St. Augustine at this wedding. Right?
Right.
Okay, fine. But when I said, well, I hope everything's gonna be okay. I hope I run into no problem. She looked at me like, why are you saying that? I looked at her. And again, I had to think like, okay, I know this girl don't understand. And again, lesson learned. I gotta be with sister.
I hear you. I hear you. I hear you.
But no, but seriously, that look and that looking into your soul and understanding is very important to me.
Exactly. And you brought up just a bunch of really important points. I remember having to have conversations with some of my family that are from the Caribbean. And often their mantra was like, "Well, why they let that happen to them?" Talking about black folks,
right?
Okay, and often, well, I wouldn't let that happen,
right?
Not knowing the history,
right? Exactly.
And so just to kind of wind back, I told you I was going to tell you about seeing Roots for the first time,
right?
Well, the Roots in that first time. It was aired over, I think either like about 3 or 4 or 5 segments.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I remember after the first and second segments, and they would do it on the weekend. Okay. And if my memory serves me right, I think it was like on a Sunday. Okay.
Well, it started like on a Sunday, and I think, okay.
Yeah. Okay. And so, of course, then what would happen is that going into work on Monday morning, I mean, I've never run into the most polite, the most bending over backwards, getting out your way without saying a word, white people. I mean, the white people were just, and they kind of look at you like, oh, and trying to read them, and this may be my interpretation. Right. It's like, is John going to go off on me today? I know that he's watched Roots and watched what happened to his people. I think I'm going to sit in my cubicle in my office today and maybe keep a low profile, okay? Yeah. Because many white people that watched it, like your girlfriend way back, at first the reaction was, this didn't happen. But as they watched it and saw some of the historical facts that were brought out, began to basically say, oh my God.
Right.
Okay. And then, as I said, kind of bringing it up to into the present, when 12 Years a Slave came out, I was able to talk to some folks that were newer, coming over from the Caribbean here and hadn't had the experience, and who were able to then say to me, I didn't realize that it was that bad.
Wow.
Okay?
Wow.
I didn't realize that it was that bad.
Wow.
And when you think about 12 Years a Slave, that, of course, was not the worst of it. Okay? So we are still regaining some of our history. So when someone like a Raven Symone wants to simply define herself as being an American without knowing the full history, then I would say, again, she's entitled to her point of view. First Amendment, she's a grown woman, she is wealthy, apparently incredibly talented, but again, I have to use your definition. She's still ignorant.
Right, very.
Okay? So with that, we still have quite a task in terms of information, education, etc. And so I would, again, suggest, we mentioned tonight some movies, some books, etc. And I would say that one of the classical books that I think anybody that is interested in the history of race ought to read is Lerone Bennett's Before the Mayflower.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And start from there, and then we'll as we go along, because again we're going to have some more discussions about.
I would love to. you know, because I would now Vince had been here, I know.
Oh yeah.
But you know, there's still so much more to this, because I don't think we really got into that whole thing of what it means when what that is really about. Because see, they talk about the ignorant part of it. When
Yeah.
you walk in the room with them and you got people going, well, he don't act black. See, they take it to that part of like, well, you know, he got to be. No, there's something to that sometimes.
Yeah, yeah.
You know,
yeah,
there's something
yeah,
to that sometimes,
yeah.
because there's sometimes when you are around some people of color and you just kind of like, okay, there's a, you know, because again, you know, I really didn't get into it from the standpoint that, you know, you can take some people and take them over there. I didn't get into a whole bunch of things that I wanted. As a matter of fact, I didn't, because I can tell you some circumstances and situations, you know, being on the board at Restore. And I learned a lot of things down there at Restore, because those kids down there, that's the first time I went down there and I felt that whole thing of, you go speak to a kid look at you like, why you talking to me? Because you know, I'm used to hey, you know, how you doing? The kids look at you because they don't know you.
Yeah,
Now once they get to know you, they trust you. Hey, how you doing? Hey,
Right, exactly.
But then you come up, hey, how you doing? They looking at you like, what? I don't know you, right? And dealing with all now. Here's one of the board members, just you know,
Right.
came. Now, Carolyn, who's there every day, the executive director there,
Right,
who's there dealing with the kids every day. We had a little thing there on a Saturday, and one of the guys, one of the so-called brothers, came, you know, that's on the board, and one of the students said something and acted out. Now Carolyn straightened them out, not the kid. Straighten them out, say what need to be said. Kid listen, kid did what you do. But the board member, he was all jittery, and 2 minutes later he was gone. He was like,
wow.
And the kid was only about like 13.
Yeah.
I mean, you see what I'm saying?
Right.
But
right.
you know, but I'm saying there's certain people, and this is the truth, that I know. Like I was telling you before, I know somebody who you can put them in the White House. They can sit there and tell you the kind of china that's up in there. They can tell you where diamonds come from.
Right.
They can tell you anything you want to know.
Right.
Take that same person, put them on the streets of Cleveland and New York, and deal with the homeless people, the winos, and fit right in.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah,
Then you got some people that you put out there on the streets, people of color. Oh my goodness, where am I and why am I here? And I just need to get. Who are these people?
Yeah.
There's something wrong.
Yeah, I agree.
There's something wrong. And so
agree.
when you run into whatever, and I don't mean to the extreme, because there's some places I don't go.
Okay. Yeah,
You know,
reasonable.
right.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm not talking the extreme.
Yeah.
But there's some people who you just put them around black people, and they like this right here. Oh my God. You know, so there's something to that.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, I would agree, because there some people who there's that old saying, everybody that looks black ain't black.
Right. Yeah,
okay.
Right.
And so you've got that sense of, yes, maybe being racially black as America defines it, but culturally,
right,
something else.
Exactly.
Okay.
You know.
And so you can have that board member, you know, who may have been put on the board because, oh, we need somebody black on it.
Well, the reason why they was on the board is because of the position that they held at a certain company that allowed them to bring in. Yeah. But anyway,
okay.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Okay. So he was a token.
You well.
Okay. I've called it like I see it. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I mean, a good brother.
Oh no.
No. I'm saying a good brother. But like I said, he didn't. He couldn't stay down there on Westmoreland, for people in Westmoreland and Cayley and Paramore. He couldn't walk the streets down there. See,
right.
You and I could walk down the streets of Paramore and Westmoreland and be fine. Be like,
exactly.
hey,
right, exactly.
You know, fine.
Exactly.
You know, but there's some people that can't walk down there.
Exactly.
Oh my God.
Right.
Oh my God.
And those are the folks. If you want pretty it up with an academic label who are culturally incompetent. Okay, you know, or to break it down the way that you did, ignorant.
You're right about that. I'm serious.
But I think, Charles, I think we're kind of over.
Yes.
All right.
We are.
But you see what happens, and I truly miss Vince being here.
Right. But
you know.
But actually, you know what, Dr. Robinson, I don't know, but I still would like to do kind of like a part two. We can do like a half a show.
Well, I think we should.
You know, I think we can do like a half a show on it.
Yeah,
or something like that. But
no, I definitely think we should. I don't know if we're gonna be able to do a half because you know when you and I get together, you know that's it.
All right.
But you know this is such an important topic that you know I don't think that we need to short shrift it or you know etc. So you know I don't know if we'll be able to do that as a follow-up, but let's plan you know on doing that because again a lot of young people and perhaps a lot of folks that we know looking at this show may still be saying, well, I still don't get it. So maybe we need to work on them a little bit more.
Speaking of Vince, he just called. So Vince, man, are you gonna be here next week? Because we talking about doing a part two, man. We been talking about that we needed you to be here, so we trying to close out. Are you gonna be available next week? Oh, see. Okay. He said he's gonna be here next week. So yeah, we definitely gonna do a part two.
All right. Okay. We are.
Hold on, Vince. Hold on. Go ahead and close this out.
Well, exactly. We got so excited about Vince coming on, we forgot to close out.
Right.
At any rate, family, again, thanks for joining us. I hope that we have informed, educated, and entertained you. And again, the journey is from us to you and from you to us so that we can get to a better place and a higher place as we reach the end of that journey. Good night. Have a wonderful, blessed week. And join us next Friday, 7 o'clock, for our part 2 show on Who is Black. Good night.